Hey guys, welcome back to Mac Kiteboarding. I'm Tucker, and today I'm going to bring you a tricks and tips video on the new Slingshot one-lock system. This is a totally new thought process in how to assemble a foil, totally toolless, but naturally that comes with its own kind of learning curve and things that are good to know when you go out to ride. Make sure that you get your gear in top performing possibility and alleviate any issues you might have in assembly, disassembly, or out on the water, whatever. So I'm going to walk you through some of those tricks and tips right now. And then if you have any of your own, as maybe some of you have already ridden this gear, put them in the comments section below. We'd love to hear from you guys as well so we can all learn together. So what we have here is a completely assembled one-lock system. We have our lever here that's going to allow us to disconnect our fuselage and front wing from our mast here. As you can tell, I had that on nice and tight, so it's nice and stiff, as tight as it can be for maximum performance, but I can't get that fuselage out of there now, especially if you're out in the sand and you get some crap in there and it really gets jammed in there and wedged in there. That could be a situation where you're in trouble. You can't fit it in your car. What do you do, right? So thankfully, Slingshot has this kind of triangular system that fits together. So even if it does get a little jammed like it is right now, it's not too difficult to get it apart. So give it a little tap here, a little tap there, a little wiggle, sometimes a couple more. And there you go, it comes right out. And then once you get the fuselage out, then our front wing should be relatively easy to pop out with a little wiggle there. So as you can tell, it was nice and tight, which is a good thing. It's really locked in there, which is what you want when you're riding, but having that knowledge of just trying to pull straight out typically doesn't work too well. You want to work with the shape of this wedge, hitting it so you kind of loosen those two pieces up when they're sitting on each other like that. So pushing down on those kind of gets them to wiggle their way free a little bit and create more of a loose connection, because the tighter they get together, the more it locks into that cone, into that shaft in here. So what you're doing is just getting them to wiggle free a little bit, and then they'll pull right out. So really that's the big one. The other one that I mentioned in one of our previous videos, but I'll go through it a little bit more for you guys on this, is this kite line here that is using to tension those two pieces together. Over repeated use and wear and weathering and stuff like that, it's going to get just a tiny bit longer. So if you never adjust it, it's always going to keep getting a little looser, a little looser, a little looser, and you're going to feel it start to wobble and wiggle after some time. So keeping your performance in your foil for the life of the foil, you're going to want to know how to adjust that. So what we've got here is this little thumb screw right here, and you're going to spin that counterclockwise to extend the screw here and make this string tighter. So when you do that, that's going to make that fitment tighter. It might be too hard to get this locking piece up in there and snap tight, so then you got to loosen it. But you play with it a little bit, find that kind of optimum spot where it wants to lock in there nice and tight, and still give you good performance, but also still lock up into there where you're not, you know, having it kind of halfway on like that and halfway in. You know, there's such a thing as too tight on this and it won't quite fit together. So find that sweet spot. As I said, you know, after you ride this thing new out of the box a couple of sessions, you probably need to tighten this just a little bit. And then, you know, if you notice it's getting a little loose over time, you can tighten it even more. At some point, you're going to loosen it so far, and I'll show you guys kind of what this looks like, where this thumb screw is going to come out so far that it won't lock in properly. So when it's inside of there and you're like this won't fit into that cavity because this comes out too far. I'll see if I can get it out far enough to show you. I haven't seen this on anything but the earliest samples that have been wrenched on and whipped on for years. So when that happens, what you want to do is, number one, screw this all the way in, make your string longer again. And then you're going to take an Allen head right in here, a little grub screw like a fin key. Loosen that up, pull it out. That's going to free your line here. So right now it's just looped over that. And if you take the string, push it through the loop to make a slip loop for a lark's head type connection, and then connect that to the post here, it's going to shorten that line up by a couple of millimeters. And that should be enough to get the tightness you need out of that while you're waiting on a replacement. So my advice, if you get to that point where it's so stretched out that you have to lark's head it around that post, then, you know, it's probably time to just get yourself a new line. They're really cheap, you know, $5 or something. And the lark's head solution will get you through until the new line comes in, and then you can properly fit it again and have another new range of adjustment there. But that's really a problem that no one's going to see in the immediate future. That's something that is, you know, 1,000 cycles of that lock down the line. Some people may never even need to replace it, but it's good to know how to do it and how to address that as it starts to break in and kind of settle into position. Once, you know, all the parts kind of get into place and they kind of get their fitment locked in, then you're probably going to need to tighten this up just a little bit. And then that should really settle into position in the ideal kind of stiffest possible situation. We found even, you know, the ones out of the box are pretty stiff, but then once you ride them a few sessions and they kind of break in, you tighten that screw down, then they're really all set and ready to go and maximum stiffness. So that is a neat thing to know about this system. So again, with this collared fit, really best practice, keep it clean, wipe it down, don't get any grease or anything like that on this stuff. So if you just put on sunscreen, try to wipe your hands off or do something. Maybe assemble your foil before you put your sunscreen on, because when you get that greasy, goopy stuff on all of this, you're going to want debris. The debris is going to end up sticking to it. And then that's really what gets it really locked up. And eventually it's going to kind of wear at itself over time if you have a bunch of debris in there and sand and stuff. So best thing, blow it out, wipe it out, try to keep your parts clean. And then that way you'll have all the stuff just falling off it. You can quickly blow it off before you assemble it and not have any issues with that locking up or wearing prematurely at the parts here. So that's pretty much it. It's fairly simple with this system. One other tip that I had mentioned in a previous video is, personally, I like to move my mast a little bit depending on the conditions and how I'm riding. The quick connect plate is great once you find that kind of sweet spot right where you want the mast. But if you're just putting a new foil on and you're wanting a little bit of a quick adjustment on the water or on the fly on the sand, where you can just move it a couple of, you know, centimeters here and there, going just with the click nuts and T-nuts are a good way to go. It's a little bit more labor when you're first putting it together, but once you figure out kind of that optimum position, make a little mark on your board or whatever to show where you like your mast, and then you can set up the quick connect mast connection, toolless mast connection, to get that rolling in that proper spot. But until you get it in the proper spot, you know, it's going to just mean a lot more labor and screwing around, no pun intended. This is a great new system, so if you're a person that is phobic of screws and tools, this is going to get you on the water without having to use any of that stuff, lose any of that stuff, and have a good time catching more waves with less stuff to bring with. This has been Tucker with MACkiteboarding.com, and we'll see you next time.